Part 1. The Courtroom Injustice. The courthouse buzzes with anticipation as Elena Hayes steps up to represent her client. Despite her reputation for winning cases and fighting passionately for justice, today feels different. Her client, Marie Johnson, a young black single mother accused of petty theft, sits beside her, visibly anxious. Marie's case has already suffered from racial stereotyping, her innocence overlooked simply due to assumptions made about her appearance and background. Elena is determined to dismantle these biases and give Marie the defense she deserves. As the trial begins, Judge Lawrence Adler takes his seat on the bench. A seasoned but notoriously biased judge, Adler has a reputation for skewing justice, especially in cases involving minority defendants. He sneers slightly as he glances at Elena and Marie, his body language suggesting disdain. Elena rises to begin her defense, outlining the numerous inconsistencies in the prosecution's case. She highlights how the supposed evidence was circumstantial, at best. But just as she's beginning to delve into key points, Adler interrupts her with a dismissive wave. "Ms. Hayes, I'm not interested in excuses. Let's keep this short and straightforward," he says coldly. Elena is momentarily taken aback, but continues, determined not to be thrown off course. She presents character witnesses and points out glaring gaps in the prosecution's story. Adler, however, seems determined to undermine her at every turn, cutting her off, making sarcastic comments, and even rolling his eyes. Gestures not lost on the packed courtroom. As the cross-examination begins, Adler shows blatant favoritism toward the prosecution, allowing them to elaborate on weak points while dismissing Elena's objections. It's a spectacle of judicial bias that leaves even some of the courtroom spectators shifting uncomfortably. Elena can feel the injustice building, but her resolve only strengthens. Finally, when Elena attempts to bring forward a crucial piece of evidence, a video surveillance tape that would clear Marie's name, Adler shuts her down entirely. "This is enough, Ms. Hayes. We're not here for a circus show," he snaps, his tone full of contempt. "But Your Honor," Elena tries to argue, "this evidence could exonerate my client." "Enough!" Adler's voice booms, silencing her. He glares down at her. "I have made my decision. Your client is guilty, and she will face the consequences." Marie begins to sob, realizing her fate is sealed. Elena's heart breaks for her client, but she stands firm, staring directly into Adler's eyes. "You're making a mistake, Your Honor," she says in a quiet yet unwavering tone. Adler only scoffs, his expression smug as he hands down Marie's sentence. The verdict is a travesty of justice, a clear display of Adler's prejudiced authority. As the session ends, the crowd murmurs in shock and disapproval, several onlookers shaking their heads at the obvious bias. The injustice is palpable, but Adler seems unaffected, dismissing everyone as he bangs his gavel. As Elena leaves the courtroom, a spark of determination ignites within her. She may not have won today, but this battle is far from over. Part 2. Uncovering the new Chief Justice's identity. News of the trial spreads quickly through social media, and within hours there are posts, photos, and even a short video clip showing Adler's biased treatment. The story begins to garner public outrage, with calls for justice echoing across community forums. The day after the trial, however, the courthouse and the entire city is shocked by another revelation. Elena Hayes has just been appointed as the state's new Chief Justice. The announcement is made during a formal press conference where the governor personally introduces Elena as the newest leader of the judiciary. Cameras flash as the governor outlines Elena's impressive career and unwavering dedication to justice. He describes her as a symbol of resilience and fairness, a leader poised to bring about much-needed reform. Judge Adler, watching from his chambers, feels a shiver of dread. He realizes the woman he treated so poorly isn't just any lawyer. She's now his superior, the Chief Justice who can scrutinize every one of his rulings. Meanwhile, Elena maintains her composure as reporters question her about her new role and the challenges she'll face. But when someone asks about Adler's courtroom bias, she replies with a diplomatic yet firm tone. "Our judiciary must uphold fairness and equality. Bias has no place in a court of law, and those who cannot fulfill that duty will be held accountable," she says, her voice ringing with resolve. Though she doesn't mention Adler by name, her message is clear. The following morning, Adler is summoned to a meeting with the court administrator. He knows that this isn't just a formality, it's likely the beginning of a review of his conduct. His colleagues are aware of his history, but with Elena in charge, there's a new sense of accountability. Rumors swirl that she plans to introduce stricter oversight on judicial impartiality. By evening, members of the community gather outside the courthouse, showing their support for Elena and demanding change. They hold signs that read "Justice for All" and "No More Bias," reflecting the collective sentiment. People who had once been silent now speak out about cases where they felt Adler's bias affected outcomes. The courthouse becomes a symbol of change, with Elena at the forefront. Back in her office, Elena reflects on the journey that has brought her to this moment. She's fought countless battles for justice, often in the face of systemic obstacles. This time, however, feels different. With her new authority, she has the power to make real changes, to create a judiciary that is fair, impartial, and free from the stain of prejudice. She knows that holding people like Adler accountable is only the beginning, but it's a crucial step toward a more just system. Part 3. A Lesson in Accountability. The following day, Elena calls Judge Adler to her chambers. The irony isn't lost on him as he sits, waiting to face the woman he had so arrogantly dismissed. The atmosphere is tense as she enters, dressed in her Chief Justice robes, a powerful reminder of the authority she now holds over him. Judge Adler, Elena begins, her tone measured, "I want to discuss your conduct during yesterday's trial." She refers to specific moments where he interrupted her, dismissed crucial evidence, and ruled without considering all the facts. Her voice is firm but controlled, carrying the weight of her new position. Adler tries to defend himself, blustering about following procedure, but Elena doesn't allow him to skirt around the issue. "Your duty as a judge is to uphold justice and ensure a fair trial for every individual who steps into your courtroom," she says pointedly. "Your behavior yesterday was far from that standard." She brings up other cases where he showed similar bias, detailing complaints filed by other lawyers and even defendants who felt marginalized in his court. Adler's face flushes with embarrassment, realizing just how thorough her knowledge is. He tries to shift the blame, but Elena's gaze remains steady, unyielding. "Justice is not a privilege, Judge Adler. It is a right," she continues, "and anyone who cannot respect that has no place in our judiciary." The review committee, under Elena's guidance, begins examining Adler's past cases, looking for patterns of discrimination. They interview witnesses, attorneys, and former defendants who all recount similar experiences of bias. The mounting evidence becomes impossible to ignore, and Adler is forced to acknowledge his conduct. A few weeks later, the committee's findings are released, revealing a long history of prejudice in Adler's rulings. The public outcry is swift and unforgiving, with people demanding his resignation. The media captures the dramatic shift in the courthouse as Elena institutes new protocols to ensure all judges are held to the highest standard of fairness. As Adler leaves the courthouse, his career in tatters, Elena watches from her office, knowing that this victory is only one part of a larger battle. She hopes that her example will inspire others in the legal field to uphold justice with integrity, regardless of race, background, or status. Her legacy begins to take root as people come forward to share stories of how her fight for fairness has restored their faith in the judicial system. Judges and attorneys alike adopt her standards, eager to align with the vision she has set forth. Elena's journey serves as a reminder that one person's determination to stand up for what is right can transform not only individual lives, but entire systems. Her unwavering belief in justice continues to ripple through the community, inspiring change and setting a new standard for generations to come.